All right, we're back. We're live. Once again, another looking for work session. The way this works is I will answer questions from folks that are looking for work. If you're looking for your first opportunity as a software engineer, best way to get that question to me is to just drop it in one of the comment boxes below. And yeah, we'll just kind of take the questions as they come through. I do this every week, right around this time. Um, and usually start off talking a little bit about some part of the job search or the preparing for interviewing process. This week, I'm going to keep it sort of short and right to the point and say, man, I'm excited. I'm seeing a lot of companies that are looking for folks that are hiring. Um, Big shout out to ClickUps. I saw that ClickUp is looking to hire some folks. They got a big round, so congratulations on the big round. And if anybody's looking for work, that would be a great place for you to reach out to them. I know they are definitely looking to fill a lot of different roles. Saw some super positive news from our folks over at ServiceNow. They made a huge commitment to invest in the community, so that is also super positive. So that said, those of you that are looking, that are seeking that first opportunity as a software engineer, there are definitely some good signs that 2021 is going to be a solid year for people to get a foot in the door, get started, and create a well-paying career that will give you lots of different directions that you can go off into. So I'm here, ready to answer your questions. If you have a question about the hiring process, about the job search process, about what you should be doing to prepare yourself for a technical role, and how do you land that first opportunity, please feel free. Drop a comment in one of the boxes. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on the YouTubes, the Periscope, and Twitch. And so, fantastic opportunity here for you to pick my brain. I've been doing some hiring, some technical hiring myself, and have done it for a long time. So I can definitely give you what my insight and my thoughts are when I'm looking for candidates, as well as I've helped lots and lots of people get jobs at companies that you might have heard of, little Red Hat, IBM, Walmart Labs, Sony, Apple, Amazon. So it's fun. It's good stuff. Love those calls when people say, hey, I just got an offer. I'm like, nice. That is nice. And that could be you. If that's what you're doing, if that's what you're searching for. So feel free, drop me a question or two. More than happy to see what we can do in terms of getting you set up, making sure that you're making an efficient job out of your search. I guess that's another thing I can kind of cover. A lot of folks take sort of a shotgun approach, and the approach is super important. You basically want to make sure you're treating the job search like a job with the discipline it takes to be successful. And if you don't, if you have a lot of inefficiencies, you're doing things that aren't high yield, you're doing things that are, you're working hard but not working smart, it's going to take you much, much longer to get to the goal, which is to get an offer in hand and be in a position where you can join an organization where you're going to thrive. And instead, there's a lot of frustration. You see a lot of folks frustrated, and largely it's because in many cases they kind of know what to do, but they're not willing to, do the harder parts, or they're just not sure what those things are that they should be sort of cognizant of as they treat it like a job. Like, what are the things, the foundational things that you should be doing every single day to make sure that there's a stronger than not chance that you can convince someone to invest in you and give you an opportunity to prove that you've got the skills to really help add value to that organization. So I'm going to pause there. I'm hoping for some comments. I'm going to check and make sure that we're live on LinkedIn. I got to do that on my phone since there's just no way to tell. But if you're out there, it's okay to say hi, and it's okay for you to ask a question, because that makes this process go a little faster. I'm not even seeing that we're live. What's up with that? Come on, LinkedIn. Don't fail me now. Oh, yeah. I see we're live. All right. We're good. Questions? Good to see you, Brendan. I'm glad you are alive. Anybody out there see that article about ServiceNow? I got so excited when I saw that. I started reaching out to all these people I know at ServiceNow. It's like, hey, this is incredible. Yeah, what else is big? This is less engaging when people don't have questions. But what are some questions to ask about cultural fit? It's good. So I'm not a big believer in when we talk about cultural fit, what we're really talking about is this an inclusive organization? Because if you're an inclusive organization, there's no cultural fit. That's just who you folks are. You have the value that you welcome and you support people. When someone says we got to make sure they're a cultural fit, that could raise some red flags for me. In my brain, when I hear that, I think probably what they're saying is they are not as inclusive, but maybe they're wanting to be. Maybe they just want to kind of have a heads up and they want to know how much work effort is going to be involved. But I kind of think of the phrase that I used to hear in the past was, I want to make sure that someone we're hiring is someone that I'd want to go out to lunch with. And, they'd be cool with maybe going out for a drink after work. And my response to that is it's probably not a great criteria. And instead you should be thinking about what value this person can add to the team. And is it going to be a challenge for you to get them to communicate effectively if they have a technical issue that they need help with, right? So I would ask questions when you're trying to kind of determine what you feel like, how inclusive the organization is, how supportive is the organization, is it a work hard, play hard environment, or is it a more serious buttoned up environment? The first question I would usually ask someone is, do you like working here? Right? And then if they really do, they probably won't just say yes. They'll probably say yes, and here's why, and kind of give you some of what you might be searching for. So if you're a candidate and you're thinking about organization, that cultural fit one, that's not a good way to frame it. And when I think about it, I think about that as are you saying you want to know, can you go to lunch with this person, and are they entertaining to be around? And that's not super great, because the best developers might not be super social. Instead, they might be all about the business, and let me just get in there and fix stuff. Let me work through problems. Let me solve whatever the challenges are. And that's their jam. That's what you want. If you're looking for a software engineer, you want a different mentality, a different mindset, and a fresh new look and a different set of eyes. So I don't know, hopefully, Gregory, that helps. Again, the question was, what are some questions to ask about organization for culture fit? Now, from my perspective, it's really important to know, when I go into an organization, am I going to have to sort of code switch and leave myself at the door, or can I come in and be my full self and not have to worry about someone reacting in a weird way or that causing some friction? And generally just asking them hey, do you like working here? And if that doesn't elicit more than just a yes, that's a red flag. You might also ask about company values. So, what are the company values? And if they can't list them, and if they can't tell you the things that they think about when they think about the brand and the organization, that's another red flag, right? So at our code school, our values were resourcefulness, accountability, and diligence, right? So somebody asks, what are your core values? I could say, that's what it is. That's what we're about. That's what we're about from a student's perspective, and that's what we're about from a staff and instructor perspective. So I think the values are a good indicator as well. So that'd be a good question to ask. You can very quickly cut through the noise. But you should be at a good place. If you're in an interview with someone and you're getting to that point where you're talking about organizational and cultural fits, values, do they like working there? I think you'll get a good good solid offer if you're getting those questions during an interview. What else? That's a good one. Oh man, this is gonna be painful. It's a lot of dead air. It's a good question. So, average expected time in a new position to get up to speed with a code base. Oh man, the bigger problem that a lot of people underestimate is it's not so much getting up to speed with the code base, it's actually learning the business. So, the code base usually comes pretty fast because the way I will usually attack it is I go in and look for their tests and see what tests do they have in place and what do those tests look like. Do we have couple of unit tests? Do we have like a lot of good code coverage? That will help me to see what's sort of the critical path of the application. What do the smoke tests look like? And then I usually will try and break off, okay, here's how this portion of the application works. I can safely work in this area and understand just this small portion of the code base and then work your way into the other parts, right? The bigger concern that you should have as a new developer is, even though you might think you know the business, being inside of it and understanding how it operates from that organization's perspective, that could take you a good 6 months, right? To really understand their business, to understand their business units, and understand, this is how product and marketing and how the dev team kind of all function and communicate with one another. This is who to go to when you have a problem with X, Y, or Z. That can be really, really difficult. And so I would say, as a new person, just give yourself the time and patience to understand that it's going to take you a while. Then the code base side of things, I would say, will happen really fast. So picking up the code base, I think that's going to take you a month, maybe 2, and you should be pretty comfortable. You should kind of know where things are and know your way around enough to know where the major services are. And, here's where and how the front end is built out. These are the patterns that the organization uses. So I think that all comes pretty fast, actually. So from real world experience, when I was at Zito, it was a funny one. So when I was there, man, we had an engineering team that was called I want to say engineering. Then we had an engineering team that was called optimization. They were really an engineering team, but they called them optimization. Then we had a team that managed the website. So I think they called that person or those people the website. And so I was just like really, really confused because, man, it was super hard for me to understand why there were different names for these different engineering groups, right? It was just bizarre. And it took me a long time to understand, like, oh, the website team just manages the web property. That's why they have that name and that designation. And the engineering team, they really manage the back-end product and the models. And so that's why that team was called that. But it was super confusing initially. All right. Hopefully that helps with both the noise and that question. Yeah, so be go easy on yourself, man. Don't worry too much when you first come on. Usually they give you plenty of time to come up to speed with the technology. Now, you're not going to master everything in the first month, but you should have a pretty good handle on the code base within the first month. I don't think it takes much longer than that in most cases. That means if you need to learn a new language, it's all right. So as a beginner, as an early career developer, they're going to give you time to ramp up on a new framework, on a new language. I wouldn't stress over those things. They're hiring you because they see that you have talent and they recognize that it's going to take you a month or 2 to get your footing inside of the code base. It's going to take another 3 to 6 months for you to understand their business. Then you can be making much more solid contributions to backlog and be, writing some stories in the backlog that are going to really start generating some interest, and product folks be like, yeah, that's a good suggestion. We should build out some designs for that. And, we should investigate that. It'll be really hard in many cases for you to suggest anything. You'd be like, I don't know. Like, what should we put in the next sprint? I don't know. But over time, you'll really get to understand the business, and that takes a little while. All right. What else? Any other questions? If not, lunch has arrived. We're eating healthy, so we're going to have chicken sandwiches and a smoothie. Yum. Any other questions? If not, it's going to be a short one. We got another one. Gregory. Starting with tests is a good springboard. Like that. Total compensation versus total compensation calculation versus salary. So, I usually try not to dwell too much on whether it's hourly, salary, and total compensation. A lot of people put a lot of thought into, that total compensation number, and they start trying to compare. You get some health benefits on this job, but you get a better 401k with this one. And you get a few options on this one. You get some equity. Here's what I would say. Just look at what is the salary that you need to survive, right? That should be your first sort of barometer of, is this even feasible? Because you don't want to take a job where you can't survive, and then you have to work part-time, or you have to look for another opportunity, and you're not going to be there for that long. So you want to make sure that it's an offer that allows you to be comfortable with not having to move or do anything extreme for at least a couple of years, right? You want to be there for the long haul. So a couple of years of being able to jump in, add some value, grow your skill set, develop some relationships. And then those extra things, just think of them as perks, right? So the extra perks, think of as perks, as additional bonuses. Now, I know it's hard to do because sometimes people are trying to compare two offers, or they're trying to compare two different opportunities. Like, I could do this, or I could wait, and I'm still interested in this other role. That's awesome. But it's really hard to put a fine value on some of those perks and really make a apples to apples comparison. Like equity and stock, terribly difficult to do that. And in most cases, not worth your while. That's one of those where it's like a roulette wheel. Very unlikely that you're gonna strike it rich the first time. You could probably go your entire software engineering career and get equity at every company that you work at, and it's still not to amount to more than 20 to 50K. So if you think about that over 25 years, that's such a small amount of money. You're much better off just focusing on, does the company have a matching 401k program, right? So I know a lot of people are thinking, they can start at a startup, and the startup is going to be a unicorn, and then they're just going to be driving the doors that go like this versus the doors that go like that. It's possible, but not probable. Yeah, I would agree. So, Gregory, in terms of you'll see that on Reddit, you'll see conversations about hourly and salary, and what is it if you're a contractor? What is it if you're working full time? What do those bennies and perks look like? Just start simple. What do you need to survive? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Can you stay here 2 years comfortably? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And let those be sort of the way you guide the decision between multiple offers. Or does it make sense for you to even really legitimately go after a particular opportunity? That's what I think early career folks should be evaluating. What does the opportunity look like over the next couple of years? And I wouldn't be too worried about the small differences between the two, because they're going to be usually so inconsequential. It's not worth getting all emotional about it and trying to do the math and reason through what those things are worth. And I know a lot of people like to brag about that. So you see it in a lot of places where people are bragging about their total compensation, and they add their medical and dental, and they add all those numbers up. They give some number that my total compensation is $275,000. But then if you look, it's really closer to $125, and then they've just added all these perks on there, and it's all right, cool, whatever floats your boat, man, whatever makes you feel good. All right. Anybody else out there? Any other questions? Gregor, you got good ones. So if you got more, keep them coming. I'm looking outside. I'm seeing the sun for the first time in the last couple of days. It's been raining here in Southern California. So we've gotten our allotment of rain. I hope. We've gotten our 3 days for this year. We already got all 3. So we're done. January. That's it. You're real dry for the rest of the year. All right. I don't see any others coming through. So we'll make this a short one. I appreciate Greg, Brandon. Thanks for coming on. Keep me company. And we'll do this again next week. So if anybody has questions, they don't catch this live, you can shoot me an email, Mike, M-I-K-E, at stcs.io. And every Tuesday, I'll jump on. I'll answer questions. So keep them coming. I think this is a great way for me to be able to share things I hope will be helpful. I think will help people that are just sort of working through that process of landing that first gig. Once you land the first one, it's game over. Everyone after that is going to be super easy as long as you're a decent employee. If you're a decent employee, after you get your first tech role, you're going to have jobs forever. It's gravy is what we call it. Gravy. But you got to be a good employee. That's the key. You got to have some skills. You got to have the chops. But you got to be a good employee, because if you're a good employee, then, like I said, there's tons of opportunity right now after you get the first job. So that's why we're working on it. First job, we're here. I'm here to support. I'm here to show as much effort and love as I can to people that are on the grind. And I know how tough it can be. I've helped hundreds of students that are going through the process. So feel free to, again, shoot me an email if you have a question. And if not, jump on live next week. You can ask your question live. I'd be happy to answer it. All right. Have a great rest of the week.